Coach Riley said recently that it's all about minimizing your weaknesses and maximizing your strengths. I'm going to tell you where USC is weak and where USC is the strongest on this episode of Locked On USC.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin. You know me. Thanks for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network your first listen every day. Whether you're watching this show on YouTube, wherever you want to listen to this podcast, download it. Pick the platform. It's free. And this show always appreciates your support. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com and you're going to get 50% off your first year. Former USC quarterback Matt Cassel, he works for NBC Sports now. He sat down with Coach Riley. I believe it was at the big conference media day. And he said, Coach, about last year in the Big Ten, what did you learn about the competition and the style of play in the Big? I'm going to give you Coach Riley's answer. Bear with me. It's a little long, not that long. I think more than anything, you're just learning the different teams, the different venues, you know, the rosters, right? What they do schematically. I compared this to somebody the other day. You know, you had the four of us that came in from the Pac-12 that, you know, were trying to learn all these other new ones. And I think that's probably the biggest thing we learned. I think there's some maybe like smaller things, you know, there's a few things that we'll do different on travel. Nothing crazy different, but a few things that we think will help enhance. But I think, yeah, learning the teams and the competition and then trying to build our roster and programs as best we can to go compete and be successful against these different groups and different coaches and different players is probably the thing we've learned. Now, big picture, you know, I've said a lot like our climb to me is a little bit would have been the same in a lot of ways, no matter what conference we're in, because it's USC. As you know, the expectation here at USC is to compete for national championships. And to do that, you've got to have the ability to beat anybody in the country, and you've got to minimize your weaknesses and obviously enhance the strengths as much as you can. End quote. One of these days, I'm going to try and speak exactly like Coach Riley, because when he gets that mule shoe Texas thing kicking in, it's hard to read what he says verbatim. So I apologize. The bottom line is this. Out of all those words that Coach Riley threw at Matt Cassel, minimize your weaknesses, enhance your strengths. That was the message. I don't know why it needed all that preamble. Nevertheless, you know the mind of Coach Riley. So I'm going to break down USC's strengths and weaknesses on this episode. We're going to talk about the strengths in the first segment. We'll break down the weakest links, we'll call it that, in the second segment. And then we're going to wrap this show up with 5 freshmen have a chance to play in 2025. So what are USC's strengths and weaknesses this season? All right, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about that in the first segment. I'm going to start with the strongest strength. And it starts with Coach Henney and Coach Nua's room, the defensive line. Too much size, too much strength, too much depth. I don't think you can ever have too much depth, but I wanted to emphasize they've got guys in that room now. And when you have that, plus 2 really good technicians teaching the talent, all of a sudden now, compared to last year where USC looked good up front, they now can, because they have so much depth, they can absorb any type of attrition, whether it's injuries, heaven forbid, or guys quitting, heaven forbid. USC can handle anything that comes at them this year. Now, the other thing that you get out of this is with more bodies and more elite bodies, the drop-off from players like Cameron Fountain and Anthony Lucas, who are the presumptive starters at defensive end, to Braylon Shelby and Jakeem Stewart, all of a sudden, that becomes negligible. And then don't forget, you got a couple of young guys in Gus Cordoba, Jaden Ramos, who came in 2025. You've got Devin Tompkins, Kobe Pepe, Jade Abasiri. Those are the interior guys. They now have guys like Jaw Jarrett, Keyshawn Silver, Floyd Boucard, Harlon Jones, Cash Jacobson. I mean, last year, this just wasn't the case. So yes, defensive line, definite strength of the team. On offense, I think the team's best strength is it's probably a toss-up between the wide receivers and the running backs. I love what USC has at the top with Mekhi Lemon, Jacoby Lane. That duo can carry that room while they figure out wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. That's how good those two are. So it's definitely it's a counterbalance strength weakness. You got some really good talent. The weak part of that room is trying to figure out who is going to be wide receiver 3, 4. They gotta resupply that depth. Got the bodies to do it. So I guess I'd lean ever so slightly to the running back room. I guess being slightly above the wide receiver room, just because there are 3 guys who can carry the load. We saw what Brian Jackson is capable of doing. He got a chance in the bowl game against Texas A&M. 16 carries, 66 yards, 1 touchdown. Then you brought in the top JUCO running back, Waymon Jordan. You also brought in a 1,000-yard rusher who started his career at Iowa, picked up 1,000 yards rushing for New Mexico last year. Now he's part of USC's backfield. And then I have a feeling by the end of the year, the name Harry Dalton, I think that's going to be in everyone's mouth. That name, remember it. We're going to talk about him later on in the show as well. I think depth at tight end is a huge strength, but that's all we know for sure, right? If Lake McCree, Walker Lyons can become integral parts of the offense, then, Riley's play calling can become a strength again. It kind of dropped off a little bit last year. And then if you add in Walter Matthews, if he can be involved, then look, by definition, 6'6", 285 pounds is a strength. I'm sorry, it just is. You also have Joey Olsen and Carson Tabarachi who make up the depth in that room. In the secondary, the Trojans lost 4 out of their 5 starters. Well, that doesn't mean they don't have the guys that can be a strength. They have the ability if the defensive line does their job. So Kamari Ramsey returns. He's the 5th out of that group. And he was probably USC's best secondary player last year, not named Jalen Smith. And then you're adding in Bishop Fitzgerald. Christian Pierce is the other safety. Those are the 3 main guys. Chasen Johnson, DJ Harvey, they bring experience in at cornerback out of the transfer portal. Pardon me. And then DeCarlos Nicholson, Marcellus Williams, Braylon Conley, those guys are also in the mix. They have game experience. Prophet Brown has the inside track to play nickel. His name's been getting mentioned a lot this fall camp. And it started at the end of spring. And then when we talked to the coaches earlier during the summer, his name came up again. So I'll say the same thing about the linebackers. They can be another strength. You've got Eric Gentry, Desmond Stevens, Jaden Walker, Anthony Beavers, Eli Newby, Tamir Robinson. Those are going to be the 6 guys that Rob Ryan leans on. Again, they have the talent. You've got the depth. They can be as good as that defensive line allows them to be. So there you go. So while those are the position group strengths, I think the greatest strength, bar none, on this team, the coaching staff. Lincoln Riley, Danton Lynn, and those are the names at the top of the marquee, right? Head coach Lincoln Riley, offensive genius. Danton Lynn, give me what you got. I'll make your defense look good. He proved it at UCLA. He's doing it at USC. Now, you supplement those 2 guys with Coach Henney, Coach Nua, Zach Hansen at offensive line, Dennis Simmons, Chad Savage, wide receiver coaches, tight end coach as well. You've got Anthony Jones Jr. with the running backs, Doug Belk, Trovon Reed, Rob Ryan. Second to no one. You got to give Coach Riley credit. He has established, he has put together a coaching staff that I think everybody envies. And what you worry about, because it's such a strength, is other programs coming to poach him at the end of the year. But that's what you want. I mean, you want to maintain them, but if programs are coming after your coaches, they're good. And I think the guy who probably might have been the missing link, I mentioned everyone on staff. I did not mention Trumaine Carroll. He's going to put USC in a good position to be successful in 2025. The attention to detail, what he does. He's going to be able to take USC's talent, the development they get from their position group coaches, and just kind of bring it all together. Pay attention to details. Do this, and everything else will fall into place. So if Trumaine Carroll was the missing link, excuse me, what is the team's weaker links? Position rooms. I don't want to say they're not detrimental, but they have more to show than those position groups that I just broke down. I'm going to talk about that next in segment 2. And as I mentioned, I got 5 freshmen with a really, really, really good chance to play in 2025. Look, you're probably like me. You wish you could manage your money better, easier. Well, with Monarch Money, you can. It can be easier. Whether you're growing your savings, planning a big purchase, Monarch Money is going to put you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal chief financial officer. It's going to give you full visibility, total control over your finances. And Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, all of your investments, all of your spending. You can do it all in one place. So in addition to just managing your money, you're now going to start building up some wealth. My biggest challenge, my spending habits. If I see it in the bank account, that means I can spend it. Monarch Money makes that easier. If I can afford my own personal CFO, guess what? So can you. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com, and you're going to get 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege, and you're going to get half off for the first year. If USC is going to have a good to great year, the quarterback and offensive line, those questions need to be answered in the positive, right? I've talked about it at length all off season. Jaden Mayava, he talked about his neutral mindset. Well, Coach Riley talked about we need to trim some of the fat off of his decision making. All of that. Look, Jaden went 3-1 as USC starter last year. However, I think it was pretty clear to everybody who was watching, he needs to be far more consistent, right? He needs to be consistent on an every down basis. USC cannot afford to have the offense. The defense can't keep picking them up. The offense cannot sputter for 30 to 45 minutes of a 60-minute game, and then all of a sudden have these great comebacks at the end to win. Happened a couple of times, but you don't want to rely on that. The quarterback under Lincoln Riley should not be what's stressing everyone out. It should not be what's causing so much consternation, especially amongst USC fans. We know that's part of the reason why they're not getting a whole lot of love, a whole lot of respect in the preseason polls. If you don't have a good quarterback play and you don't have confidence in your offensive line, why is anybody else going to have confidence in you? I'm a little bit closer to the situation. Bottom line is this. Jaden Mayava simply needs to be better in 2025. We know what he's capable of doing. We just need him to do it more consistently. And once you get behind him, you still got a couple of 5 stars. I mean, you have talented quarterbacks backing them up, whether it's the true freshman who saw on Longstreet, or is it Sam Heward, the transfer from Utah? One way or another, Coach Riley has to maximize the strength of his quarterbacks. We're going to start it with Jaden Mayava. The offensive line is another area that can be really good if the parts come together. Look, I think everybody would agree. Everybody watched Elijah Page. He failed his test against Michigan last year, but he passed his other tests with distinction. Alani Noah. So he's your incumbent. He's going to be your starting left tackle. Alani Noah. He's your 2-year incumbent at right guard. You got Tobias Raymond, who's making Justin Teranu fight for the chance to get that right tackle spot away from Tobias. If DJ Wingfield can't get that injunction from the courts on August 18th, Micah Banuelos is the guy. I mean, he's taking first team reps right now. It looks like he's doing a pretty solid job from what I've watched in these first handful of practices. As long as he maintains what he's doing and continues to get better, he's probably going to have the job. And then you got Jalen Ray Reed and Killian O'Connor. One of those guys has to seize the starting center position away from the other. USC has the pieces. Zach Hansen has the pieces he needs in that room. There's enough talent to be a strength. And I think they'll have time to get there with the schedule. It sets up really nicely. We've talked about it. You open up at home, Missouri State, Georgia Southern, you hit the road for Purdue. That's a perfect way to kind of ramp up to get that offensive line a chance to be the strength we know they can be. Now, I'm going to add special teams to this segment. I could have added them as a strength in the first segment as well. However, there's so many unknowns. Look, Mekhi Lemon is the known quantity, right? We know he can return punts. We know he can return kicks. He's that spark. But who else can handle those return duties? You don't necessarily want to have to rely on Mekhi because it's a long season. Remember, he didn't start off the beginning of the year. He replaced Zachariah Branch. So can Zacharias Williams, is it DJ Jordan, Xavier Jordan? What about Waymo Jordan, the running back? You got true freshman James Johnson. He's been getting a big look this fall camp. In fact, he's the only true freshman that's getting the opportunity. He's electric. As I mentioned, Mekhi can handle the extra work, but would it be better if he didn't have to, right? The biggest question marks are kicker and punter, not of their ability. We just need to see them do it wearing the cardinal gold. So Caden Chittenden at UNLV, the place kicker who transferred in, he was second-team freshman All-American by The Athletic. He was the Mountain West Freshman of the Year, and he also made first-team All-Mountain West. Here's what we know. And I already said he needs to be perfect on PATs in 2025. Last year, as a freshman, he was 55 out of 56. Pretty good. On field goals, he was 26 out of 33 attempts. He also, by the way, he led the nation in scoring amongst all kickers with 133 points. So there is a chance for that group, for the kickers, for the kicker to be a strength. Again, we just need to see him do it under pressure, wearing the cardinal gold. It's a little bit different playing for USC, playing a stronger schedule than doing it at UNLV. Eddie Traplisky, he's now a Philadelphia Eagle. I think that's who drafted him. I have to go back. I apologize if I didn't get that right. Anyways, he was such a weapon for USC last year. I mean, I almost feel bad for Sam Johnson, the punter who transferred in from Valparaiso. But Sam needs to show that he can flip the field. He can place the ball where he wants it, just like USC's Ray Guy Award winner did. That's how good Eddie was last year. He was such a weapon. If the offense stalled or sputtered, he helped the defense out. I can't tell you how many times he put his foot on the ball and the ball went exactly where he wanted it. It was crazy. That's how good he was. So look, until USC fans see this, look, maybe special teams aren't a weakness as much as a no. I think that's really the best way to categorize them. Two other areas that need to be stronger this season: wins on the road and closing out those close games. You can't keep surrendering fourth quarter leads. Saw that way too many times last year. So I think that's definitely a weakness. So for USC to contend in the big conference, get to 9 wins, maybe one more, get to 10 wins. Jaden Mayaba's development, the offensive line's their cohesion, special teams improvement, it's all going to be pivotal. That has to come together. But as I've been talking about throughout this offseason, USC has done what they needed to do. They found the right parts. I love the coaching staff. Now they just have to kind of put it all together. Use last year's lessons as a learning experience. And that includes play calling. That includes players performing, executing under pressure, making better decision making. That was the weakest part of USC last year. Their decision making, executing under pressure in crucial moments during the game. And a lot of that had to do with the roster not having the depth, especially as the season went along. All right, we got one more segment to go. Hey, I got some freshmen I want to talk about. I got 5 on it. I've got 5 on it. And no, I'm not talking about the 5 that the Loonies was talking about. If you know, you know. I want sacks, just not the kind they were talking about. I want sacks from Jakeem Stewart, true freshman. Those are the sacks I want. Look, I know that's really low-hanging fruit. Jakeem Stewart, true freshman, he's going to play. He's going to play often, but he's also going to play early. He is USC's highest-rated defensive recruit since Corey Foreman. And I'll tell you what, Jakeem has already made an impression. He arrived with the right attitude, with the right type of work ethic, and now he's got some of the best in the business developing him, getting him ready to show everybody why he was one of the top recruits in the country. Remember, he was supposed to be part of the 2026 recruiting class. He reclassified. He's at USC. Even with only 12 games of high school football under his belt, he's that good. I've seen him perform so far, and he's doing a really damn good job. Here's another one. It won't be easy for Floyd Ducard just because there's so much depth in front of him, but he's another that's going to play. I don't know how early, but you're going to see his elite feet. He had 1 repetition the other day at practice. He showed off his footwork, and that Coach Henny talked about it. I saw it. He's going to be really good. But Jakeem Stewart's going to play before Floyd gets on the field, but as I said, he'll play in 2025. I mentioned James Johnson on special teams. This young man was offered by more than 40 schools. At wide receiver, he's a playmaker. USC's bringing him in to play defensive back. That's how athletic he is. And he's already getting a really strong look on special teams as a return guy. So, again, we'll find out. He's going to be playing in the secondary, but he's going to make his name known on special teams. Whether it's punt returner, kick returner, I don't know. Not sure yet. It's a little too early to tell. But this is why, if you're a true freshman, you should be crawling on your hands and knees. Say, Coach, I want to play special teams. It's the best way to catch their eye. It's the quickest way onto the field. Volunteer, special teams. I'm going to stay on the offense. I'm going to go with Tanuk Hines, wide receiver. A really speedy, fast wide receiver from Houston, Texas. He's a dude who can stretch the defense. That's something that was missing last year. We thought Zachariah Branch was that guy. It never happened. Not sure what happened to him last year, but it never materialized. Tanuk Hines, he could be that guy. He's a real wide receiver. I think Zachariah was just an athlete playing football. We'll see what he does at Georgia this year. But Tanuk, even though he wasn't at USC for spring, again, he brings speed to burn. And that could help him, see the field as a true freshman. especially if he learns how to become a blocker between now and the season starting, or as you go through the season, just continue to get better as a blocker. That's how you get on the field at wide receiver as a freshman. Show you can block. Harry Dalton. Yeah. He's a running back at USC. He played quarterback in high school. He's so good. That is the name that everybody is going to be talking about by the end of the year. 6 foot, 205 pounds. Lincoln Riley has to find a way to get him on the field because he has the ability to throw the ball. There's so much creativity you can do with him. And again, he also brings speed. He brings a certain amount of wiggle. He's different than the other running backs that we talked about earlier in the show. So like he looks like he has the talent to play quickly at this level. But that running back depth chart, that might be the hindrance there. But I don't need him to carry the ball 10 times per game. I just need to see him on the field. What's wrong with the trick play every now and then, right? All right, there you go. Those are my 5. Tell me who you got. Hit me up in the comments section. You're watching on YouTube. Thanks again. If you haven't subscribed, get it done right now. Click that red subscribe button. Smash that thumbs up. Click that bell notification. You don't want to miss an episode. That's why I'm here. I'll be here again tomorrow with another one. Don't forget, when you're done watching Locked On USC, check out the Portal Show with Brian Smith. It's also on YouTube. And then when you're all done with the Locked On Network, head on over there to weareusc.com. We've got our Inside the Trojan Huddle podcast up for the week. I got a couple of articles already up there. You can read my practice notes and observations report. I have my Tuesday thought up. A lot of good stuff. All the recruiting information you want from Scott Schrader. Eric McKinney covers the team. Get over there. Take advantage. All right. I think I covered everything, right? There you go. I'll be back again tomorrow with another episode of Locked On USC. I'll be back at practice. It's going to be a night practice. Yep, got that email. Little schedule change. Tomorrow night, USC practices under the lights. All right. Until that next episode, everyone, you know what to do.